Got it. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
This is good. It feels like there'll be a lot of time for Q&A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me settle in, kind of adjust to what's here. Let's see. Yeah, what I'm feeling is that this call gets to essentially be a bonus for everything we're bringing through in our course, and gets to essentially be like an overarching landscape, just like really looking at everything we're bringing through for the 7 weeks and kind of diving deep on some of the major aspects for it, kind of being like a bird's eye view of what's here, like what it means to promote your soul to CEO, what this paradigm looks like, some of the more technical like day-to-day aspects, and then the channeled message from Bergale too, so a bit of an activation.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Very cool. Cool. I would love to check in with those of you who are here and kind of see what you're bringing to the call and what's here for you.
Mm-hmm. Tara, do you want to go first?
Mm-hmm.
No? Yeah? Okay.
I was feeling the same thing.
A minute to get the unmuted thing down.
Oh, cool.
It's okay.
Yes, I'm like, I mean, I don't know, you guys have read my little messages and stuff on Facebook. I have had like the most like, not sure there's words because it's still feelings. At first I was like, I felt like I was like, phew, but really it's more like, it's like every answer or every question is being answered right now. And the most like, of course, way, you know, like, I mean, I'm freaking raking the leaves outside or brushing or brooming the little leaves. And I'm like, started laughing because it was like I was having this whole little conversation with nature that was just so natural, you know? And I was like, and you know what's cool is like this space that I'm in right now is so who I am. And I was so scared to go there before because I was afraid people would think I was crazy and all, you know, we all know that, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing being in this space, it was really fucking crazy to be in the other space.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I'm like, I'm appreciative of the process because, you know, for whatever reason, that's got me to where I am right now. But this space is so easy. And I like that you guys reflect that because I'm like, oh my God, this is what it feels like. It's not that there's not a lot of work involved with that, but it's not like a work, you know, it's like a work. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's just here and it's going to grow my business and turn me into the woman I've always been meant to be. So your words, not mine. I can't wait to be the woman that I've always been meant to be.
Yeah, and so, and you know, the question that I had asked you earlier about I can't even remember exactly how I asked it, but about the difference between energy and
Triggers
is now I'm like, oh, I get it. It's just this feeling because right after I asked that question, you answered perfectly. Another friend who I met through this other moon and Hawaiian situation, and we've really connected on this really amazing energetic level. She messaged me out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere, but you know, and I was like, oh, that's what the energy feels like. Like I can feel it with you guys and I could feel it with her. And I've got other friends that, and this all relates to business because I am my business, you know, and the people that come in to my existence and my world always end up buying a trucker or buy a piece of art, even though they're like, I don't wear truckers. And I'm like, oh, you just wait, you will. And they always do. It's hilarious. But But now I'm like, I see those other people's energies come in, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's just not fitting, and that's okay.
Yes.
So, you know, and just learning now that, okay, now I've realized too that I have a certain rhythm that I go by. And it's a lot of times I talk slower than other people. I breathe slower than other people. And that's okay. And if somebody's like spinning faster than me, then I might not hang around for very much longer. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's where I'm at today.
All within 24 hours. It's awesome.
Yeah, all of them are so spot on. They're so exactly what we're talking about here. Like, this is the second paradigm. It is so fundamentally easy because we have this access. And we've all denied it and kind of shoved it into these little business boxes. Like, oh, I trust it like within these parameters on these days from like 9 to 5 when I absolutely need to be working and doing all of these other tasks that there's no room to listen to the thing anyway. Like, it's so funny the way we cram it. But as soon as it's free, I loved seeing from the beginning of your post to like maybe 100 words later, the total shift that happened. You're like, oh, I think I just answered my question, because it just pops up. Like, as soon as you give room for all of these huge business insights that pop up, they just pop up. So I love that you're trusting it. I love that you're moving in this direction. And it's cool noticing, you may notice this, lots of the people that are coming that are kind of, you did this with your hands, it like doesn't quite fit. Lots of those people are responses to the energetic that we're running in the systems. They're a response to essentially what our business has been. So they're coming in and they're in perfect alignment with the kind of weird wonky energy that we've been sitting in, and it's perfectly in alignment with that. And we're used to choosing it and used to going after those things because they do feel like what business was supposed to be. But as soon as you click over into this other space and your soul's running the show and your soul's CEO, then these things no longer feel in alignment. And you're like, oh, that like offering, I'm thinking to my personal experience, like, oh, that offering that I got to like co-host a retreat in Costa Rica, like, oh, like that would have sounded really cool to the business me, but like it's not actually in alignment, so something's off. So it's cool noticing the way that, I guess we could say, our body wants to drive our business, and our plans and the societal structures want to drive our business, and we actually have opportunities to do that. But we also have opportunities to take it the other way and allow our soul to run the show. And that's where those other connections come in. And you're like, whoa, this feels different. This feels like how I want my business to feel. This just feels like me being in the world, and it happens to include money. Holy crap. So it's cool that at all of these junctures, we have these choice points that are always there. And when we say like, choose your soul consistently, follow the energy, essentially what we're saying is you'll run after choice point after choice point after choice point. That is a perfect representation of what your body and brain and emotional systems want to do and what your soul wants to do. And they're both available at all times. And the more that you say no to the things that make logical sense but don't feel good at all, and the more you say yes to that soul, like, holy crap, this is it, your life just starts to open organically. And it's almost like our container and our capacity for abundance and all of those things is our capacity to be able to make those choices. And the more we make those choices, the more our container expands. The more we make those choices, the more abundance comes in. The more we make those choices, the clearer our messages get, because we're laying more room for our soul to drop them in. We're creating more space in our lives and businesses for more complex ideas to come in. Not just like, hey, get on Facebook and write a post, because it's so simple. Like, maybe we'll listen. But when we actually start listening consistently, there's so much room. And then it's like, hey, David and Miriam, do this masterclass in 2 days. It doesn't quite make sense, but like, you need to do it. And then we're here. And it's funny because as soon as we did that and posted that email and made that masterclass, you actually hopped in. You hopped in, and another person hopped in, Tom, who hasn't been on the calls yet. But it's cool that regardless of what this masterclass was supposed to be, we had our ideas of what it was supposed to be. Like, oh, we'll have a bunch of other people come in, and then maybe we'll be able to give them access to the course, or like whatever that looks like. But when we're actually here and when we're actually in it, it's always a little bit different than I thought it would be, but the energy feels so right and it's so dialed. And I look back and I go, oh, maybe Tara and Tom wouldn't have fully been called to this if we didn't also put out this offering and like have that juxtaposition and send that one final email. And I mean, to have you here is such a blessing. It's so cool how this energy is landing. I love your energy in the group. I love what you post in our Facebook group. Like, it is so, so, so perfect. So it's funny how those things work out with that juxtaposition of like our body and soul paths. And then even when it doesn't quite logically make sense, like the incredible things that happen from that. So amazing, amazing, amazing.
Hi, Shirley. Welcome.
Good to be here. Just love that collective sigh.
I didn't hear.
She said, "I love that big sigh." I was looking at us in the camera, and our chests both blew up really big and then came down at the same time.
Funny.
These containers are cool because there's so much energy that we're sitting with, and it's like we dial into your energetic, Tara, and then it expands out, and it's just full. The whole container's resonating with your energy and like full with your energy and what's here, and then it kind of starts to close, and then it just drains, and then it opens back up, and the next next person, like, yeah.
I'm feeling Michael.
I know, I was feeling Michael too.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
So just like a check-in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're here because we invited you and we love you. But if there's anything that's present for you and Lizzie, and anything you're co-creating together or anything you're doing individually, would love to know and kind of just speak into what's here.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go. I'm checking in, just feeling kind of like crunchy and like frustrated today. We've been home hunting for the past like 5 days straight, so it's broken at like 6 or 7 homes a day. It's feeling kind of humbled coming back into like the US and like the just like the grids of that after being in like multidimensional magic land in Bali for 3 months. Specifically around second paradigm stuff, like there's there's like aspects of my awareness that's just like, this is just bullshit. This is like the most dangerous thing to lead people into. And like, it's fucking stupid and it's not working, and like it's not for me, and I should just like double down on copywriting and handwrite 2 sells letters a day. And so that's just a bit of my like emotional process. And then where I'm at personally, it's funny, I've been getting these like magnificent reflections lately from like really powerful people. Like I don't feel like it right now. Like I feel very vulnerable and very like just like super vulnerable, and nothing's landing. I feel like more powerful and like divine than ever, yet like there's just no motivation in the tank to like create. And that could be because I don't have a home and that we're like searching for that. And then
for sure.
I have a hunch that like once we have the lease and that's all locked in, everything like it'll, like I can kind of see it just making sense. But just like frustrated and like bored with Earth even sometimes, and it's like cycles that I've been through before. Like I just we watched Captain Marvel, one of the movies, and I just like resonate like at the deepest level of my heart. Like I don't know why I'm here yet. Like I don't know if like something weird happened to me when I was young and I had my memory wiped and I'm some like fucking Arcturian prince or something. Like I'm spinning on like identity actually. Yeah, I'm like spinning on identity. Because this like, because I feel like I've like let go of so much that like there really is so little that's actually left. That just feels like really scary. Yet when I go into meditations, I'm like, then like, it's just so good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was my morning meditation today. Like we did
Awesome.
a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, and that was the morning meditation in sound effects. Yeah, just like, yeah, we just had dinner, and I'm just like, I know there's no going back, and like going back to some of the old ways of being would be like going back to like kindergarten and being like, oh wow, like this is like there's nothing here for me anymore. And
but then this is also bullshit, so there's just no answer.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah, I feel it's like extremely fragmented with my energy.
Yeah,
like extremely fragmented of possible timelines and possible things, and like none of them feel exciting enough to like for me to want to do them.
Cool. This is perfect. This is exactly everything I wanted to speak into. So I love that it's like very relevant to the container and what's here, and I love that like your energy that this gets to map over, because it's, I think, helpful too. So I think there's two paths. We can call them first, second paradigm, and first and second paradigm, but I don't know that that is as helpful as just talking about what they actually look like. One from this space is to get grounded back into reality in the US, which means stepping out of all the energy that you felt in Bali, stepping back into all of your business maps. I think you're such an unusual case because you're a genius level IQ. So you have the ability to systematize just cognitively, without any soul, all of the best strategies. Not only that, but you're a super connector. So you literally have all of the best strategies at your fingertips, and you have the ability to systematize all of them together into the best possible strategic route, perhaps on the planet, for an entrepreneur, specifically someone in the coaching industry, specifically someone doing what you're doing. I think because you have that capability so dialed, the choice gets a little bit more complex. One route is to use that and just go. And I think why you're saying you can't go back is because it's really difficult to do that, because internally, those systems and strategies aren't exactly what you would want to be doing. And internally, there's like some dissonance there, because you're like, well, fuck, like this is the way you do things, but like I can't quite bring myself to like step into that level of like marketing or that level of things. And like I do see the emotionally manipulative like pieces of sales scripts and of the funnels and of those things, but they do work. So maybe I should hold on to them. And like I think there's this like there's this kind of thing that's like running that's trying to grapple with how to best use this supercomputer that you have, this like 130 page, which I'm sure it would be if you were to actually type it out, synopsis of like all the things you could do in business and exactly why and what their like 5 to 10 year plan would look like. I think that's path one. Path two is essentially what we're doing over here, which is those spaces that you're in meditation, that you feel all that bliss in, that energetic is actually up and available in business too. And I think it's difficult to sift through that, because as soon as you get a glimpse of it, you also have all of the maps of what that business could be if you were to take this other path, but it's actually two totally different things. You can follow that level of bliss and that level of deep resonance with the pieces of your identity that you do already have and know. And that path, if you take that first step, it'll expand and grow. And if you take that next step that's slightly bigger, it'll expand and grow. And if you take that next step, then you'll start getting visions of what this can be. And I think you already have lots of them, but it'll clarify, because everything will start to fall off a little bit and create more space. Those visions of what can be, you actually don't have to figure out how to get there in the second path from what we're doing here. You don't have to figure out how to get there. You don't have to know how to get there. You don't have to even know if it's possible or if you're capable. You don't have to know what it's called. You don't have to know your tagline. You don't have to know who you are within that. You don't have to know your exact roles in the business, how many employees there will be, what the revenue figures will be, what the offerings or products or services will exactly look like, what the mottos will look like, what the target market will look like. All of those things you actually don't have to know, because you'll have that vision and you'll know what it is. And literally all you have to do is say yes to it and your trajectory sets. So you're telling this energy, and you're telling yourself, and you're telling your soul, and you're telling your oversoul, and this larger orchestration that's orchestrating without anything you're doing internally in your brain. You're telling that yes, and then the choice points will begin to arise, and you've been in this place so many times where you've already done that. The choice points will arise, and you'll have 2 or 3 very obvious energetic matches for like, hey bro, I have this thing, do you want to join me? And it's like so strategic and so not at all what that vision is, but it's so enticing and we're making money. Then you'll have like clients or people or opportunities or an event or something that comes up and feels internally to you the exact same as that vision, and there will be massive excitement there. If you take those choice points, then you're saying yes, not just in intention, but in physical manifestation, and that event will actually further you down this timeline. That is essentially the like internal process of navigating down what we're doing. And there's a very practical aspect to this, because once you say yes to that, all of the work will pop up and all the things will pop up. And that feeling that you're looking for internally, for that excitement and energy behind your work that you had when you were doing some School for Men stuff at the beginning, where like it was so fucking easy. It was so unbelievably easy. Like, doesn't even make sense how easy it was, because it was just time and it was there. There were people to serve, the product, the service was there. That feeling exists when you choose that timeline and when you're following the energy and only doing the things that are really, really here right now. That is, I think, the difference and distinction between these paths, and why I do fundamentally think this works is because the more I learn about reality, we talked a little bit about this on our course call last night. The more I learn about reality, the more I recognize that we're not actually building our reality from here, from this moment, from this day. We're not building out. We're building this way, back around, and we're choosing trajectories from the start. And we choose this like hazy, like nebulous timeline that like we kind of have a vision of ourselves speaking on stage in the future to this crowd. Like we choose this thing and it's like, like I have no idea what that is. I don't think I'm capable of it. I don't even know if I'm that person, but we choose it because our soul is so lit up by it. And once we choose the trajectory, we set a stake in the ground, and all of the things between where we are in this moment and there sequence. And that sequence isn't done here, it's done there, it's done in this larger orchestration. And when that sequence lands, then literally all we have to do is follow step by step what's our highest excitement. All of the things that you already do, that you did in Bali, all the things that most spiritual people are doing, that's what you do, but there's the work around it, and there's a willingness to say no to the genius level maps that would be alternatives that you know you can't bring yourself to do, because there's not the energy that drives you forward, that is your core motivator in life. So I think that's kind of the distinction between what we call first paradigm and second paradigm business. And I think being able to see it as choosing a timeline and knowing that things are popping up and following the energy, for me, because I have a very similar brain to you, for me, I need to have the context or else I can't get behind it. That's why I've been channeling for 2 years, trying to figure out like what the hell is going on. Like it can't just be, I do what excites me. Like I can't just follow my emotion. It doesn't make sense. Like I can't just have things be so nebulous. So I needed to know what was actually happening. And when I recognized that I'm working with this larger experience, that's not just this physical existence that most people think is reality. When I work in this larger container and I use the mechanics that also exist that most people don't have access to, that is the most genius thing I can do, because that is my biggest competitive advantage. That is my biggest differentiator. That's my unique business. That's my UBI, whatever, like that's it. And then everything that comes out of my business resonates with that same energetic. Everything that comes out of my business is enticing to my target market and to everyone else, because it's enticing to me, because that thing that we're choosing is actually our soul mission. And our soul mission is the only thing that really fundamentally, when we go really long term, the world is ever going to want from us and accept from us. Because the masses are waking up so quickly, and there are less and less people that are even responding to these genius level strategies, because we've mapped things that have worked over the past 10 years, but over the past 10 years, people have woken up like never before. and people's intuition is more spot on than ever before. So for us to lead forward a new paradigm of business, we have to be able to understand, map, and use our genius level IQ to work with the mechanics of reality, how they truly are. And if we can do that, then we're leaders of this next paradigm. We're leaders of business. We're future political business leaders. We're driving this world forward into a whole new timeline, into whole new collective heights. And it's grounded, it's practical, because we're doing that by making choices to create physical business manifestations that are on the ground, tangible, grounded, working with people in containers, working with people, having transactions, working with all the systems that are here. So that's a bit of what we're doing, just to kind of give the context on what second paradigm business is.
Cool.
Well said.
Yeah, it's helpful. The just like the complexity of my mind is like overwhelming sometimes, just like how vast it is. And then like Lizzie brings her fucking universe in, and it's like there's just like so much. Like there's like literally so much. Like there's just days where like I'm just like laughing at the amount of like emotional intensity that I think I'm going through, just because I'm tracking so many things simultaneously. So it just feels like I'm just like dying every day. Yeah.
Did you get those the docs, the soul and business docs?
No.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll check them out. Yeah.
They might be helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's these ideas. I think this is another, it's another aspect of like, what does it look like to live from this paradigm? Because it's as fluffy as spirituality is mainstream. This is so specific, and it's so helpful for me to like rest in the context and be like, I want answers to this in this paradigm. And it's like, and it comes in and it fits. All right. The thoughts and emotions, those two docs, the core of it was our thoughts and feelings aren't actually manifesting into our reality. And if we know that, then we don't have to battle them to their root to move forward. And I think this is literally one of the largest sources of pain I've ever seen, especially for spiritual entrepreneurs, is they sit and they dig themselves to the end of where they can dig themselves till they're emotionally burnt out, because they fundamentally believe that if they don't, they won't be in the energetic state they need to be to drive forward their business. They won't be in the thought space they need to drive forward their business. And when we're so hard on ourselves and saying that our thoughts are directly translating into our reality, then we end up monitoring our thoughts harder than we ever monitored them before too. And like we end up having to reach internal perfection before we can do anything. And that goal, it's the same thing, man, as like for everyone else, we were raised Jehovah's Witnesses. And I think back, it's the exact same thing. Like if you do this exact set of rules, then you will be saved, and then you will live in paradise. There's this sense internally of, from the spiritual communities, they've just shifted it and said, if you can do this now, you don't have to wait for an external God to do it. But if you can shift yourself into these perfect set of rules and expectations where you're always happy and perfectly clear and aligned with your soul, then you will live in paradise and everything will drop in for you and everything will be aligned. And when I see that from like a true, genuine perspective, recognizing that like life's actually like this, life's actually Fibonacci, like there's no way we're going to get like 100 blocks out from the beginning. There's no way we're going to reach perfection immediately, because it's iterative. Life always builds on itself, and our business is always going to be further next year than it is today. So those docs, essentially the main points behind them were, with your thoughts, know that lots of the thoughts that are coming up, you don't have to work through, you don't have to drive them through, but you can kind of begin to separate out what is all of your mental structures wanting to plan and lay down a foundation. And with the emotion, like you can separate out what are my doubts, fears, and insecurities and all these things. And if we realize we don't have to work through all of them before we get there, then they just kind of settle into the background. It's like, oh, this is just a part of being human. Like I have thoughts that tell me that all of my soul's plans won't work and they're impossible. Okay. And I have emotions that are complete doubt, uncertainty, and fear the entire way. Like, okay. And the only reason that fundamentally makes sense to me is because I recognize that my brain and my body don't have access to my soul's truth. They have no idea what it's like to live in the experience of the things that I'm feeling and envisioning. They have no idea, because my brain and body can only take in information through my five senses from the present moment back, and they map everything in the past to this moment. My thoughts and my emotions are a supercomputer that outputs the synopsis of all of my past experiences, and they have no access to anything that I haven't experienced. So what B keeps bringing through, he's like, you will have those fears, doubts, and insecurities, and your brain will tell you it's impossible literally until you get there. And it's not a moment sooner that they'll shift. So he goes, stop doing anything. Like, don't worry about your thoughts. You don't have to do the thought work. Don't worry about your emotions. Yeah, like, feel them, be with them, because when they come up, that's actually the work happening. That's actually us moving into a state where our choice points where we can like really sit with what's there again. Like, we're going back into a state where we first made that choice, and we're feeling the contrast between now and that past. There's stuff happening, but our thoughts and our emotions, they're going to be fighting us the entire way because they don't know better. And there's something about recognizing that for me where I go, all right, I'm going to be doubtful. I'm going to be uncertain. I'm going to think most of my ideas and most of the things that are here are total crap. Great. Awesome. I can accept that. But what I can't accept is all of those things driving my business, driving my decision-making processes, driving my life, and totally taking me out. So when I accept them, I'm actually going to choose my soul time and time and time and time again, because I know it's the only thing that works. I know it's the only thing that's going to get me where I actually want to go. And that's where, man, that's where like pure mastery comes in, because it's not about, people say these things all the time, but like, here's where they become real. Like, it's not about being fearless. It's about moving forward in the fears. It's not about like never being sad. It's about like being able to still move forward despite us feeling sad. And there's something about accepting this human body that we're in and this reality that we're in that for me now is grounding. I'm grounding into the reality that's really here. And the reality that's really here is like, this thing fights this forward movement because it's scared, and it has one job, which is to tell me they don't do that, because it doesn't think it's safe and it thinks I'm going to die. That's what it does. Like, my limbic system's really convinced that everything I do that's uncertain, I'm going to die. But at my core, every time I've chosen my soul, including our coming here, including our running this course, including us starting our mastermind, we have a life that I never thought was possible. We're in a level of abundance I never thought was possible. And like, everything is easier than I've ever done. And I look back to like even projects I was working on where I was doing like really enlightened things, like, all right, let's do the Galactic Alliance, and I'm going to like bring through Burial, and like, we're going to do all these things. And I sat and I worked for like 300 hours on that sales page, and like one person bought it. Like, like, that's what it looks like to do the best possible thing my mind can do. And now I sit back and I just follow the energy that's here, and it like, it's 100 times better than the things that I've built with the best of my capabilities. So I get it, man. The being in that space, thought spinning, all of those things, but there's absolutely this energy here that you have access to, because as smart as you are, you're also highly intuitive. And you have a woman who's also highly intuitive, who's anchoring you not just into this reality and into the beauty of this reality, but is also anchoring you into that soul piece of you, because that's what she loves even more than your brain. Big nod.
The camera too.
Because you have this beautiful set of circumstances, there's room to be able to choose that soul truth. And I think that is where, like, as soon as you take into consideration, all of your brain stuff doesn't work anymore. And I think that's the big conflict. Like, as soon as I take Lizzie's energy into consideration, like, I can't do this master computer plan. Like, fuck, dang it. But she's actually there to pull you towards the things that really will work. And it is so confrontingly simple. And it is so confrontingly present, because there's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to plan. And it's literally just following that first breadcrumb, like doing the lives, doing the things. You already have the audience. You already have the people that love you. You already have all the things, and you have the articulations. It's just following that and watching it unfurl.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you guys so much. For me, I'm totally in resonance. I can't really operate anymore at this point, like not from my soul. If I do, like it just like I start like spinning and like things like
Yeah.
literally like my car battery will blow up, like things like just like
Uh-huh.
explode around me when I'm not in resonance with my soul.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so recently it's been interesting because like we're definitely like talking about new business pursuits and art and all of that, and like for me, like exactly as you described it is how it is. I feel it, like I can feel it and I see it and I'm moving towards it. Logically it makes no sense in so many ways, like everything, but like, and it does. And I think, yeah, it's interesting the two paths that you stated in speaking to Michael. I feel that really strongly because like we're staying with a friend and he's like a business coach and all that, and so we were like sitting with him yesterday and he like starts grilling me like all those logical questions.
Yeah, of course. What's your target market?
Yeah. Like I kind of turned into like a little girl. I was like, well, it's maybe like
Yeah.
and I was just like, well, should I know? Like the mind went like, oh wait, like should I narrow in on those things a little bit more? And like there's definitely like the mental that like will be like, oh, should I like be more logical and like be more? But there's a deeper like, I can't, even if the mental thoughts come there, I can't actually act that way anymore. So it's like it doesn't actually even work. And I know that, so it's just a continual trust, really.
Totally.
Like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but like I can like feel it with my whole being. So like, why would I do that? You know? And so, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I love that you can't operate there anymore. And I love that you freeze when you get to that place, because to me, that's better than like having the answers and then thinking that they're right and that they're the only way and like that you got to do it. And like, I love that you're so in tune with this energy and are unwilling to do anything else, that like when people ask you those questions, like it just like it's not even my worldview. Like you're pulling me into a total, I have to think in an entirely different paradigm. Like, I don't even know if I have neurons for that anymore. Like what's going on? I love it.
It's wild. And same with like, as you were saying, like event invites or things like that. Like Michael will show me things all the time. And I'm just like a no for like almost everything. Yeah. And it's so like, just so far from me that like, sometimes it's frustrating because I'm like, okay, my yes is to like lay in bed. And that's like where the energy's been, you know? And so it's like the mind is like, is that like what's really here right now? You know? But the no's have been like I can like feel them and they're just like, and I'm like, I don't want to go there. So it's just like continue, like the difference is so drastic energetically, so it's a continual. And then like occasionally I will be like, okay, let's do it, let's go, and then it's just like, all right, it's never terrible, but you know,
I so relate.
Yeah, our dynamic's very different, or is very similar to your dynamic. Very, very, very similar. And I think you already know this, but you're perfect for each other in this. Because what I'm feeling is that, Lizzie, you get to sit in that energetic and say no even harder. Really, really, really refine that inner knowing and trust it 100%. Because I think about our dynamic and like my brain wants to take us in 100 different directions that aren't real, that just aren't here. And it's helpful to be able to check in and trust Miriam in her yes and no, and trust Miriam in her intuitive sense.
I'm mostly a no.
Yeah, totally. But when we come together and start working in harmony, there's this really cool thing where I find that like she's sitting in the embodiment of the energetic and she's there, and I have mapped out kind of everything around it, and I can see both directions and know why to take both directions, because my like mental vocabulary is there, but I need to be able to follow the energy, and I need to be able to dial in. And once I dial in, then I still have all the vocab words for like my assignment, but like, but I end up dropping all the ones around it. And it's cool to be able to look at your dynamic and see what's beginning to emerge, because it feels like, Lizzie, for you, you're going the other direction, and you're like really settling into this energetic, and like, I'm going to trust this felt sense because I know that this is my role to play here. I know that this is the piece of the business that I have more refined right now than Michael. And Michael's like, I'm going to stick with my business vocabulary because I know that I have a really, really great understanding of how we implement this once we're dialed. As soon as we're dialed, Michael can like go, because he knows 100 steps out in literally every direction. And it's such a cool mental map that he has. He has the business vocabulary to be able to do that. So it's like, together you get to help set that trajectory. And then once you guys are really, really dialed and settled, then you can hit the races, because you have all the vocab, you have all the software knowledge, you have all the things that you need as a unit, and you have that really rock solid, I'm unwilling to do anything that isn't truly aligned with our souls and isn't truly a co-creation of what's actually here. And even once we're doing this, I'm unwilling to work with people who are coming who aren't also a representation of that co-creation. Like, let's really dial this and call in the people that we're already co-creating this with, because you're already co-creating this business unit with the people who are wanting to come. That's just how this paradigm works. It's how business works. It's how soul works. And the more that energy dials, the more those people start orbiting in, because they're like, oh, it's getting closer. I feel this energy, not just up here, but I feel that there's something here. Someone's bringing it through. And then when you post that post, they're like, that's it. That's the thing. That's what I've been looking for. That's what I've been praying for. And we get that reflection all the time. Like, this is exactly what I intended. This is like, I had a woman message me that was like, I was bawling my eyes out,
Praying at our altar.
praying at my altar, asking for a new way forward. And then I saw your post. And I know that's essentially what's happening. It's not always as like dramatic or like such a beautiful, perfect story that could be turned into like a book, but it is that same mechanism that's driving forward our businesses. So I think it takes a bit of both sides. One, it takes really being able to anchor in that for you, Lizzie, and then Michael being able to map what this new paradigm looks like, and to be able to expand your vocabulary into some of the etheric mechanisms too, because as soon as that lands, then you're off to the races. Because then it's that exact same process of like, oh, I feel this, I'm really excited about it, and my brain can get behind it, and I can understand at least logically how this works too. So it's cool. It feels like everything's landing, and I love that there's like a physical circumstance right now that's like helping you to ground, helping you to come together, helping you to trust yourself, helping you to tune into your intuition, like helping you to like plug back into the energy of the area. It's cool. It feels like everything's well on its way. Yeah, and I hope some of this context was helpful, because it feels so here, and I know what both of you are capable of creating. Michael, I've always known what you're capable of creating, and the world needs it very, very fundamentally. And I know it gets to be so fucking easy, so easy. Because if it's any other way, like, who would want to do that? Who would want to do this terribly difficult business that's like grueling for the first 10 years until it finally like clicks into place? I don't think that's necessary in 2019.
So maybe you guys can help with this. Like, they all seem easy. Like there's like a new revamped like men's mentorship timeline. There's like a timeline where I just like help Jehovah's Witnesses be liberated from cult control. I do that with Toby, who lives in Austin. There's a timeline where like I go into music as like a manager producer archetype and like support Lizzie with like her stuff. Like, I can't do them all simultaneously. The
strategic elements are really easy, but when you stop looking there and then come here, if you were to actually imagine yourself doing it now, it's a fucking wall, because there's not the energy there to support it. So it's easy cognitively, and you can implement any of these things. And that's what I mean by you have the vocab. You have 100 steps out in all directions, and you know that you could do it because you're capable and that you're smart enough. And if you had someone who could literally do everything, maybe you could bypass that wall, because maybe they could run around it and like build all the systems and the wall would disappear. But like, there's a thing that's that easy cognitively, that's that easy here. Like you sit down at your laptop and you're smiling and you're excited about what's really here, and you're excited about the things you're talking about, and you know that like when those people come, it's not going to be like, oh, like I can help them and I know how to help them and it'll be making me money, but it's not actually exciting for me to be helping them. Because that's what I mean by easy, is that it's not just like cognitively easy. When you sit down, it's like, this is work. Like it's just work. Like, oh, I'm just doing this now. It's the same energetic that Tara was bringing at the beginning, where she's like, it's so easy. Like it's like I'm still working. I'm working a lot, but like it's so easy. There's something so cool about being in that, and I think you have a perfect guidepost, because it seems like Lizzie's entirely unwilling to do anything else.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is helpful, and I'll sit with them more.
Cool, man. I love it. Yeah, thanks for bringing the energy. I mean, I love that all this stuff's come out, but I don't think that anything needs to like fix. I don't think anything's urgent, but it feels cool and like a perfect. It just feels really aligned, because these are all the things that I wanted to speak about anyway, and to have them like be grounded into an example, and to like be able to feel in this container and on this call, like all of that energy come up, and like that like tension and conflict and like all of those things. Like it makes it more exciting to be able to teach these things, because it's doing something right now for someone, like plugging all of the kind of energetic gaps between the map.
Yeah, I'll share too, just because I always share everything. It's like I don't even have income right now. Like I had a couple coaching clients.
Yeah.
You know, it's because like I keep having clients, and like they're just like not, it blows my mind. Like there's not even enough energy just to put like just to write to my list, hey y'all, who wants coaching? And I make 30 grand. Like there's not like that there.
I know.
And I'm just sitting. Like I feel like I'm like waiting for this like big ass assignment or something. Or like I'm waiting for like an angel, like an act, like a, or like
like an actual angel like crashes through the roof. Like there's actual physical damage to the ceiling.
And he's like, "Fun here," and it's a scroll. And I'm like, "Whoa, go to the rock!" And like that. I don't know. I just feel, yeah. So yeah, it's weird. It's super weird, and it's like.
It's happening though, because like every day, maybe not with finding a house, we've been a little in our minds, but like every day, like we do follow the energy, but then there's certain moments like this where it's like, oh, right, like it doesn't logically make sense. Yeah.
I mean, I have a concern, like we're just gonna follow the energy and just like play for the rest of our lives and like do nothing and make like 10 grand a year. And just be like children, yeah. Like I'm like judging this lifestyle very harshly. I'm like, we're just a couple of fucking kids who like we're having fun, but like it's not like, yeah, we're getting galactic upgrades and like we're becoming more smart, but like I don't know. Like I just like there's just something that's so uncomfortable, and I just feel like I feel like I'm like wasting like my gifts and like I'm just like fucking off all day because like the energy wants to go into play with Lizzie or like dance practice stuff or like learning, but then like, oh, am I just gonna do this until I'm bankrupt? And then like, cool, but I don't know, it's really interesting.
I mean, your body and all of your emotional systems are fighting back, because your soul's taking you to a space where you drop lots of those mental places where you go into, so that you can land fully into the present moment, so that your embodiment can be a match for the container that's coming in.
So is that, so if I can use my words, it's like my soul is like taking me into the experience that I fear the most, almost so I can like have that and then like transmute it, kind of, sort of, or
your soul's kind of taking you into a period of mental and cognitive rest, so that you stop thinking about all these plans, so that there can be space cognitively for that machine to be working for the thing that's really here. But that fear has been present every time. Like that's actually if you look back at the trend analysis, that's actually the one internal energy that's extremely convincing for why you can't fully settle into this really excited, playful, fun version of you. But if you feel into the embodiment and the magnetism of the two different versions of you, which iteration exists in that business of the visions that you're having.
Yeah, I guess the playful guy, but he's like, yeah, I
He's
just
making $35 a month, and he's homeless on the side of the road. Yeah, man, I get it. It's weird because it's the exact opposite of how our brains have been working our entire life. And it's the exact opposite of the way that the strategy wants to drive you. That's the thing I run up against too, because I have all the same maps. You run in all the same circles. Like
Yeah.
when you know business, it's difficult at first to plug in this way because your soul goes, hold on, become that version of yourself and say yes to it. And you go, yeah, but like, what do I do? I'm gonna be broke. And they're like, yeah, no. What you do is you become that version of yourself and you say yes to it. And like what it took me a while to realize was that that's not steps A through Z, that's step A.
Mhm.
That's the prerequisite for us to be able to be open to lay into this, because right now there's the biggest choice point in your life, which is, do I run this business from this cognitive space of all the things I know how to do? And do I do these businesses that are going to be 1 to 3 years, but then will suck the life out of me, I'll burn out, and then I'll come back to this space? Or do I start that thing now? There's a lot of money to be made here. And you know that. You know that if you take these businesses, there's a lot of money that you can extract before you have to fully make that transition. So that's why it's such a difficult decision. But there's still two paths, and they're the same two paths we were talking about at the beginning. They're the same two paths that have been here for a while. And that choice point is really just riding a long time right now. But the further along in time you get, the further those paths are splitting, and the closer you're getting to the point where eventually chaos just starts to emerge to drive you into that place. Chaos will emerge to drive you into that choice because it's a choice that has to be made, because at some point, I mean, we have a limited time here. So at some point we have to choose which path are we going to take. And there's really no right answer as long as you're choosing one of them, because the third path, like choosing that default and not choosing, or trying to do a mix of the two, is just chaos, utter chaos, and it tears us apart. So what's here is really just a choice to go either way, and there's no right or wrong answer, but we can follow that soul's guidance and choose the second paradigm and like play into this with a pretty big trust leap that we're actually leaders of the second paradigm, not like a crazy lunatic group. Or we can do what everyone else is doing, but we can see and feel everyone else burning out. We can see and feel everyone else's businesses, regardless of what the income numbers are doing, energetically are on the decline. And because we can feel that, everyone else can feel that. And because everyone else can feel that, the whole market can feel it. And soon those businesses aren't going to be making the numbers they are. So there's a short window of time to play that game, but there's also a big window of opportunity to get in as early as possible, so that when that market transitions over, we actually are leaders. We actually have fully established second paradigm businesses and are leading this charge. Because sooner or later, everyone's going to have to do it. Everyone's going to have to listen to their intuition. Everyone's going to have to come into alignment. Everyone's going to have to do all this, because nothing else will work.
It'll be the new cool thing.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, we've been doing it.
Since 2019. You guys were running a second paradigm business in 2019? Like, yeah, we like made up that word. Yeah. I mean, I love feeling in this possibility. I can feel like you're maybe like 60% less stressed than you were like 10 minutes ago. Like I feel all of this energy draining, like you coming alive from the inside. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. The choice points have gotten very distinct, like with the reflections between the two different like ways of operating. Like you described it like perfectly, like just like the people showing up on like both ends of the spectrum, like guidance coming through, like it's like very like distinct like right now. And so it's an interesting time for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff, you two.
Good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I felt some like energy move, so I'm sure I'll sleep, have some crazy dreams like I have every night, and I'll do more stuff tomorrow.
Exactly.
Cool. What's here? You've been reading the chat.
Yeah, I noticed Shirley. I love this, Shirley. I moved forward today and it felt so good. Cleaned out my spare office, getting it ready for a connection space for my new coaching business. Can't wait to hold workshops there. Thinking I need couches instead of chairs. Thanks, Miriam. Comfort is important. Comfort is important.
Oh, I love that.
I love that so much.
I just grabbed a pillow to put behind my back.
Yes, perfect.
It's cool sometimes even just have that like physical manifestation of the energy that we're saying yes to, like when the room changes, when our environment changes. Like I think there's really something to it about being and living in the energy that we're cultivating and having that like external representation. And it also feels like you're saying yes to making even more room in your coaching business for people to come in. You're like willing to be seen more, you're willing to like be heard more, like all of these things, even though it's like, oh, like I cleaned my office today. There's this like huge decision internally that you're making.
Driving force.
Yeah.
The why that gets you out there to do it. Because I've been putting this off for a long time. But I had connected with another coach, and she's helping me. She's showing up tomorrow, and that was a huge motivation. That the last time we got together, you know, I put the pieces of furniture up for sale, I cleared the space. Nothing went. It sat there, and I went on vacation, came back. She's coming tomorrow. It's like, I need to deal with it first. And it felt so good. I had a couple guys come and take everything out, and I was cleaning and throwing stuff out.
Amazing.
So I'm thinking, oh, tomorrow's going to be so excellent with her. We're collaborating where she can use the space too. So but she's also helping me and pushing me. So we're really good for each other. It was a good meet when I saw her, and we clicked. Yeah. So looking forward to. I just see it. I see it, but it's now. You know, when they say you build it and they will come. That's what I'm thinking.
Amazing. Crystal says, "Congrats, Shirley. Your energy feels so light and exuberant. It's lovely."
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
It feels good to talk about something that you love. I mean, that's and that's where I'm coming from with the business is sharing that. And when you said, you know, when you're on the right track, it is easy. I went up to Toloiwak and taught 6 women in a workshop, and it didn't feel like work for me. And yet I made the most money I ever made in 3 days. Like, what? So it's just following that and making more of that happen. So just waiting for it, and it does come. It's just, but also taking the small steps. Like if I didn't give that woman my business card, none of that would have happened. Like I opened up the discussion. I made the step.
Yeah.
It really comes down to just do it. Even if it's 1 minute, even if it's one little thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I implemented it. I was watching this video this morning, and it was some coach, and she was in Light Workers of the World, or it's on Facebook, this group. Light, I'm pretty sure it's Light Workers. She's a fellow Light Worker. I have my own list. Oprah's in it. But she had some really good things to say, and she's very intuitive, and that's something I'm trying to work towards, is having more intuition. But this is new for me. This is all new for me. And I don't know if you know, Dave, but I was the Jehovah's Witness for 10 years.
Wow. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think we talked about it on our call.
Yeah. And stumbled across Mike's post, and then led me to you.
Wow.
Pretty neat.
Amazing.
But I feel like that was something I needed to do, that was pushing me, pulling me. It's not pushing, it's a pull. Like I did it because at that time in my life, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And I said yes to my soul. And so even though there was so much opposition, but it felt right.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I can look back and I learned skills from that I can take into my business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I feel this very new Shirley coming online.
Mm-hmm.
Very new. 3 years old. That's when I was 50. I said that when I turn 50, things are going to be different. And they sure are.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm 3 years old and I listen to my soul. Whatever my soul wants to do, I'm doing it.
I do. I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm. But it's cool because I feel the like small decisions you're making here, and I feel the results that you're already getting in this version of you that you're already landing in. But when I feel out in the trajectory of where you're going, it is such a huge difference. Like I feel your whole timeline and everything that you're doing getting brighter and brighter. And I feel that just knowing how much that translates into the growth of your business, how much that translates into you living an exuberant and joyous life, which then of course translates to even more of growth in your business. And it's cool feeling these subtle shifts and these choice points that we're making. And they feel so small in the moment, even though it's like, oh my God, this is such a big deal. The actual things we're doing, it's like, it's these little micro adjustments, but those choice points are totally different timelines. Those choice points are totally different things that we're aiming at. And I feel you just dedicating and choosing your soul and this energy on such a deep level. And the fact that you're already becoming this version of you and you're already coming to life just speaks to how much there is here for you, like how much energy there is on this timeline, how much energy there is in this business. And it's cool. I'm excited to see everywhere this goes, because I mean, it's obvious how much you're brightening. It's been like 24 hours. It's amazing.
Wow.
Seriously, both of them.
Yeah.
But I felt that it's been brewing for a while.
Yeah, when it's time, it's time.
Like I'm saying no to a lot of things that I used to say yes to.
Yeah, it's funny. Miriam and I were talking about like permission. Like we want to give people permission. And at some point I realized, I turned around and I was like, hey, my love, I think more than permission to do things, the majority of people we're talking to need permission to not do things. There's so many things that pull us off path, so many things that sound really good but aren't actually aligned with who we are, what we're doing, and to have permission to not do those things. Like I love that you're saying no to a bunch of things because it opens up space again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and check out Facebook Marketplace for some comfy chairs. Or couches or whatever. You'll you'll never know. You never know what's on there. Some cool stuff. Yeah. Just felt called to say that.
Anything that's here for you, lovely?
No, this is great. Keep going. You're doing awesome.
Thanks. I know, it's just fun. Just coming through. KB, you want to hop on for a bit?
Holler.
Holler. Hey, girl.
Yes, queen.
Hi.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, you look so rested.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've done nothing but for the past 3 days.
Oh, I can feel the vitality in you. I imagine there's still like sickness left over, but
it's a weird dynamic. I woke up, I'm like, I'm back. But my body is like literally so slow. And
your body's like, and I'm on my back.
Calm it, girl. Like slow eating, slow drinking, like, you know. But it's good. It's a good practice in presence for sure. It's interesting. Yeah, my whole system legit upgraded. Like my voice even feels different. It's like using it new or something. It's so interesting. And it was rough. But you know, worth it. I'm coming up with this post that's coming through about like when the easiest path is hard as fuck. Like that's what I'm walking all the time. Thanks, Shirley. It doesn't have to be hard all the time, but sometimes it has recently. What's here for me is kind of like, as I was listening, first of all, Tara and Shirley, you ladies are vibrating so bright and so light today, even from yesterday. And, you know, I was having a similar experience today. I'm like, can this be right? But I just want to celebrate them both, right? Because like there's so much that happens in between calls like this, and clearly y'all are doing your thing. So I appreciate you. And Michael, it was really good to see you. It's been like a long time. And it was great to meet you too, kind of, you know. I was
Holla.
the OG crew right here. Way back. So as I was listening, I was just relating a lot to like the duality of the complexity and reading all of it all the time through all the steps, all the iterations, all the possibilities. Oh my God. It's amazing and it's exhausting, but then also this like super dropped in reading the energy every single moment, kind of in the same way, but like they're in such different tiers within, you know, like one's up here and one's in the heart. So like the threads, what's present when it comes to business for me is switching my home. So there's a theme there with Michael and Lizzie as well. It dropped in this morning, Miriam, the place that I sent you to like read the vibe, you know, just to confirm, it dropped in this morning that like, that's my place. Like I can super feel it. And then ironically, I haven't heard back from them since my email yesterday. So like that feels in motion. And also I'm like, you know, if it's not that, something better is going to come in for sure. And even with it feeling like it's mine, like having the finances line up for that, like completely a mystery, but like, you know, I've done this before. And then the other simultaneous piece is how the money would actually come in, which is my, my signature program, Relationship Edition. So embracing all of the recent mining for gold that I did. I really embraced the opportunity while I was in the end of my relationship to just like harvest all of these incredible healing gems that I want to pass forward to the women who are meant to receive them right now. And it just feels so important for these women. And then logistically, when I'm revisiting the container, the energetic container is potent, clear, still there, all for, you know, all green lights. But the structure of it feels, and we were talking the other night, we're like, oh yeah, something's shifting, but I still don't know what it is. And this ties into all of this of like, I'm using the model that I learned. It's like 9 women, it's over Zoom, it's 7 weeks long, it's $2,500, $1,500 for alumni. I've got all the modules set up, you know, the calls, and it feels really clear. The topics, that's done. That was like, came through good. But like the structure of it, I'm like, is this it? And then while I can feel the shift, oftentimes the new structure needs to come through someone else and land in my ears, which kind of frustrates me. It'll be like, you know, I'm talking it out and then like there's a reflection back or something. It's like, oh, that's it. but I kind of, I'm like, why can't it come through, you know, with me? But it's probably because of like those old residual stuff that we were talking about yesterday, of like me gripping and controlling, like, this is the only way it's worked before, which was huge for me to hear last night. Wasn't easy, but it worked just magic overnight.
Yeah, I felt it. It pierced further than I thought it would.
Oh my God. I literally woke up and I'm like, I was like finally falling asleep. I was up almost the whole night and I finally fell asleep. And I felt like the last purge and my whole body jolted awake as if it was like a sudden earthquake. And I'm like, no, that's okay. It's just the last pieces. I literally knew when it happened. It was so interesting. I'm like, cut the cords, throw it away. So that.
Cool.
I can feel like you know what's here.
Yeah, a bit of what's here is to be able to establish a personal one-on-one container with you and your soul, and for there to be able to be a very clear way for you to be able to get messages all the way through, where you can ask anything, anytime, all the time. So I think this is a perfect time to be able to kind of speak into, because I was kind of feeling this in general. A huge piece of this paradigm is trusting our souls. And I think in a lot of ways we talk about it as if everyone just like suddenly knows how to do it or they've always had it. But I think there are also like very specific tools and practices that can help to really pull and create space for that. And I think regardless of whether it's the same connection that I have or that Miriam has, which we both do differently, having a space and a container for you to be able to sit and just create space for nothing else is so valuable. And I think about all of the huge junctures in my life where I was the most confused and frustrated. Like when we were trying to find this place and we got our notice like 14 days before that we had to leave the place that we thought we were going to be living in. And we were in panic mode maybe for like 5 or 6 days. And then I sat down, and for me, what I do is I sit down and I take a breath and I call on my oversoul. And for me, that's like jacking into the role of wave consciousness. I call on my oversoul, and almost instantly I feel it's so subtle, but the way it happens for my system is I feel it's almost like above my ears from like this point up, it just opens and the space kind of expands. It's not even like a blah, it's more of just like a poof, and it's suddenly there. And I just feel like there's more energy here than there was before. And it's a subtle feeling, but that's just how my personal body has translated it. But I think regardless of how I do it, there's a internal mechanism that you can tune into where you can feel that you're connected. And I think we all have that. So I call on my oversoul and I feel that connection land. And from that space, there are times a crow just flied up like 6 feet.
Right,
right above the
Oh, he's looking
crow.
in.
Oh, wow.
He's tilting his head like,
he's like
looking
this,
in the
looking
window.
in the window.
Rose. Oh my God. You guys don't even know the backstory on that one.
For me, I'll sit and I call on my oversoul and I'll type on my phone what's here. I'll hit enter and I'll start typing. And for me, that's just how I channel and I bring stuff through, and I'll just start typing. And it's such a weird shift because it's not, my brain isn't articulating it. Like it's not coming from my brain, but it's like my brain's still finding the words. And it's this weird thing where like you're channeling, you're automatic writing and bringing it through. And the messages that come through, it doesn't even always have to be like, hey, what's my course? Or like, hey, what's this? For me, when I go, what's here? That question is the magic fucking question for me because it blows open everything. And I go, I don't care what my biggest worries are right now. I don't care what my emotional system's doing. I don't care what my thoughts think are the most important right now. What's actually here? And often they're like, oh, like this emotion or like this thing. And I find ways to navigate through that. And I would say in those biggest spaces, there's like 1 or 2 things that just like are quick. And they're like, this is here, you're thinking about this a lot. Like what's actually here with that? Boom. And it like this whole resolution clicks in, and then I go, what else is here? And then boom, another thing comes through. And I think you get through those first couple layers of like responding to the biggest emotional and thought kind of gaping holes in our fields. And then like the real juice starts coming. And right around the time where we were scrambling, but still scrambling inside, but still not frenziedly looking for everything, I got up and I went and I said, what's here? And they were like, oh, just to chill and like read a book. And I was like, no, like we need to find our place. And like, no, it's done within, like, by Wednesday you'll have it, or like by Monday you'll know, by Wednesday you'll have it, and like Friday it'll be done. It was so specific. And those exact days we like found the thing, went and signed the lease, and then moved in. It was ludicrous that the exact timing down to the exact sequence came through, but it was just what's there. And when I actually went and checked in, they were like, oh yeah, just go do something else. They're like, it's not even important. It's already done. And there's something about having that personal container where you can sit down and just create room for it. That for me is the biggest things in those times of transition and in all of those things. So I think it used to be a little bit slower for me. And I think there's room, I'm sure Brigitte will speak into it a little bit. There's room to kind of sit and really expand out and like get used to like, what does it feel like when I call on my oversoul? What does it feel like to be connected? What does it feel like to like really stay on the feed? What does it really feel? All these things kind of expand, and our awareness lets that land more. But I would say just as a kind of an overarching view in this moment, calling in our oversoul and just asking what's here, whether that's writing or verbally and recording ourselves or whatever that may be, can just be so massively helpful for all of this, because it sounds like things are just trying to land, and I think there's room to just be able to create that personal space so that you don't have to pull the feed and have someone else articulate it. Because I think that's what has been happening, is like you both drop into the field and you pull it and you hold it in front of your face and like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm feeling. Are you feeling this? What do you think's here? And you're like showing them the whiteboard with your answers on it. But like if you turn it around and sat by yourself, you'd be able to write it. I think there's room to be able to create those same spaces that traditionally the only pathway has been with another person, but to be able to create that sacred space for yourself so that the same information can come through and you can do it whenever you want, wherever you are, regardless of who's available.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that pretty freely in other areas of my life, but with business and money, I doubt the fuck out of myself. I hope that that's coming to a close.
I think that's what's shifting.
Yeah.
Okay, all the things that your body is purging, all of the things that we've been speaking into, like that shift from holy crap, I'm behind enough to catch up and figure out all these strategies, like that energetic, of course, when the messages come through, it's like, really, this is just probably my best guess. Like I should probably actually go out and find something better than the thing that's coming through, to then recognizing that like you're actually on the cutting edge and you have all of the tech already there and you have all the answers, and it's actually further along than the other way, which is to just systematize everything that used to work over the past 10 years. And hopefully it'll work for you too. Like the thing that you have that is personalized for you directly from your divine connection, that's future pacing. And if you can trust that and just put it in its place cognitively, so your brain can kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing right now. And your emotions are like, I still doubt it. Like, do whatever you want. If like, if there's just enough room for that to land, which I think it's already landing more and more every time we talk about it, and like every moment of your day throughout all of this, I think it's landing more, recognizing how tapped in you already are. That information won't just be for every other aspect of life, but will translate to business too. And I think that's where everything falls into place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Michael says crows keep following him everywhere. He said, what's dying?
Yo, they've been everywhere, like 4 in the past 2 days. They're just everywhere. Or it could just be crow season.
Crow season. Yeah, this is just that time of year that crows follow you around and stare at you all day.
You
right?
know,
Isn't
springtime.
the last week of April crow season?
Last week of April. That's amazing.
Oh, amazing.
I love it.
Is there one more thing, Crystal?
I'm not sure. I don't feel anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You're welcome to share if you're getting something.
No. Yeah, I just felt like asking.
I know. I was, when you said, Crystal, is there one more thing? I heard like this little voice that was like, actually, there's 3.
Funny. Crystal's like, no, I don't have one.
I
was like,
know.
no, there's 3.
That's funny. I don't have any awareness of it. That's weird because usually
It's just, we ping
we're
back
like,
and forth. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
But you know what? You were speaking into specifics, right, of your course and the things that were here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything specifically around that that's top of mind?
I don't know that the thought completed, because there was something around the course and then you hearing from an external of like a new structure.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I think it all connected because I'm feeling a shift wanting to happen and I haven't been able to quite zero in on what that is. And then that's where usually that old process of having to like hear it back to, you know,
Gotcha.
It's not just me talking it out, but it's like someone else assimilating and getting more than what I can verbalize. And then it comes back, it's like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Like I can feel all that truth, but like, I want to be able to do that on my own.
Yes. Cool. That's very helpful. The other thing that I'm feeling here all of those strategies, it feels tempting in the field that I'm feeling right now. It feels tempting to fill all of the gaps with all of the strategic elements you already know. So it feels like soul task lands, gap. Soul task lands in this gap. Let's fill it with strategies. Let's write the post. Let's send the messages. Let's create the connections. Let's network. Let's plan. And it fills. So it's soul, a bunch of strategy, soul, a bunch of strategy, soul. And I think that system is part of what is currently breaking. It feels important to be able to acknowledge it in the field, because an awareness around that essentially leaves room for all of the ease and all of the space, because what I'm feeling is missing right now from this field has nothing to do with the specific strategy or structure as much as it does with the specific energetic that you're embodying within it. And I think when you are in the structure as this version of you that's fully landed in that courage of ease, that in itself completes the structure and fills it with energy. So I think the structure is there, but the energetic almost component behind it of how you're showing up in it and through it, not just in the container, but the full expanded sales process all the way through it. Who you are in the container gets to expand out into the entire sales process. That ease gets to expand out in the entire sales process, and that becomes your whole new process. Because I think right now, all of the old systems and strategies are feeding into a container that's built in ease. So they're not connecting.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
like, I need to switch the structure. It's like, no, switch the entire sales process and become an extension of that. Pull the ease all the way back through, drop all the strategies that don't go anywhere anyway. They never do. Drop all
It's
those,
easy. This shit is easy.
Yes. You got it. Uh-huh.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, there you are, bro.
Oh my God. I wonder if I just go into tinker mode right, in those gaps. And then I just like, it's gotta be something, you know? And especially with like the money stuff attached to that, it creates even more urgency. And I freaking know energetically that that's contracting all of my magic, because that's inherently not trusting. And at the same time, like, it's been really difficult to like have these revelate, you know, this work internally happen alongside like human deadlines to like pay for shit, you know? So yeah, I was not thinking about the path to opening the doors. It's like the doors opened.
And then it's so easy and full of soul, and it's all.
Oh, it's so easy inside the container. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I get paid to do this? What? Right?
Like up for that with all the strategies and all the work and all the tinkering beforehand.
Right.
I'll have earned this space and container or whatever it is. It's fun.
That is, my God, such a shift.
Yeah, because your essence doesn't just drive your containers, it drives your entire business. Every time you sit down and even think about your business, that essence is what's driving it.
Oh my God, no wonder this feels...
Everything clicks into place.
No wonder it feels clunky, because it legit is energetically. It's like I've got the pool, right, of energy for the actual container with the 9 women in it and me in there too. But then
diving boards across the street.
Little weird, random little, you know, dots along the way, and they're like, we kind of think it, you know, leads to that door. We're not sure.
Yeah.
And I can feel the women. I mean, they're there. I can feel them. They talk to me.
Yeah. And they need to be able to find you by the essence that you're talking to them as.
Yeah. And even that, like, I've been talking from the essence of that container, but doing it outside that container. That's unnecessary.
Just the one thing is the physical representation of the communications that you're having etherically in the container. Those are a different energetic. Those are a different version of you running that show. And as soon as you have permission to not run this weird disconnected show that's just a lot of work and burns you out, then all these etheric conversations translate into all of your copy, all of your Facebook lives, all of the things you're putting out, and then it's easy. It's easy. Running your business and your sales is as easy as those etheric conversations you're having, because everything comes from the same energy.
Right.
Etheric conversations aren't work. You're not like, oh man, I need to have 5 etheric conversations today to meet my quota. You know, it doesn't even compute. And you bring the same energy as you bring to those into all of your messaging, and there will be uncomfortable gaps. And those uncomfortable gaps, most of the time, what's happening there is your soul's pulling back and giving your body time to freak out about the deadlines and all those things, so that you can remember that you're always taken care of, that the money always lands, that all the things are always there, and that if you continue to choose your soul, everything will work out, everything will be perfect, nothing needs to be clunky, everything will land, everything will land, everything will land. And if things need to go, if you need to move, if whatever logistics need to change to match that new energy, like great, awesome, let them shift, let them happen. But like there's that foundation of trust and ease that's just landing more and more and more and more. And it's like, it's creeping into every aspect of your business. So it's cool that literally every aspect of your business, except for this one process, is pretty much already in deep alignment with your essence.
Absolutely.
To translate out the sales process, where I think there are the most scripts and the most systems established in this industry.
They're all in here. Right. But like once I'm on the phone with someone, it's like, oh, like, let's just listen to what's here.
Totally.
I'm not going to force it. I want it to be good for you. I want it to be good for me. Like, let's just see what's here. And I trust myself to do that real time. But it's this other path that we're talking about.
And just what's so funny? Like, your essence is so much more magnetic and works so much better anyway. Like, that's crazy to me that we are programmed to do these things. Like, all right, make sure you're wearing the same clothes as everyone else in the crowd so that we can find you. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Make sure you got to wear a black shirt, blue jeans, white socks, pink shoes, like everyone, it's this sea of black shirts, blue jeans, and then there's one person that's staying there and it's you and it's your essence, and people are like, what the heck is that? Like, she didn't match the dress code. Like, why is that? And then all the people that are like, wait, like that's actually how I would have dressed. They're like, hey, who are you? What the heck is this? Like, I'm triggered because you didn't follow the dress code. What's happening? God. And like all their shit comes up and you hold space for it because it's the work that you're actually meant to be doing. And you'll feel, this is the coolest thing, but you'll feel in your sales process a mini version of the transformation that happens in your container happen for everyone you're talking to. And it won't feel any different than the container. Like we felt like we took people through the entire process with the docs, with their messaging, with all the things. And now we're in our container and we're taking people through a deeper, more elaborate, more energetically potent version of what was already happening. So it's cool. I love how all this is landing.
Wow. So good. Yeah, and it's that analogy is legitimately what happens in person.
Yeah.
That's what happens when I walk into a room.
Yeah.
The women there, they're like, who's the shiny bright unicorn? They're like, I don't know what it is, but I want it. And there's just like this glazed eye thing that happens because we're talking on a whole other level, right?
Yeah.
And that in the past, hopefully it's different now, gets lost. Like I had all this stuff around, like I can't sell online and like it doesn't work for me, and which now I know why. Jesus.
Yeah. Because it's literally a different version of yourself selling online.
Yeah. And I just, oh my gosh, I've been trying to reconcile those. Like I've been very aware of that. I've been really trying to reconcile those. And now they're lining up, thankfully.
Yeah. You'll catch the energy more and more because the awareness is here. It's every time you'll start scrambling and like the like we'll kick in, and then the idea will come and it'll be like, all right, I need to do this right now, and then it'll go, but right before it translates into action, you'll catch it because you'll feel the energy you're in. You'll be writing the message and you'll be halfway through and you're like, this feels terrible.
Yeah, that totally happens. Yeah. Like delete. No.
Yes. No, go watch Netflix. Go watch Netflix. Come on.
That's right. Go do something. Go talk to nature. They know what's up.
So it's funny. I love that there's this totally other piece of this, because yes, it's like find time to pull through that information. But like the other half of this was like, if you have trouble, your soul won't fill that space. So it makes sense that the only other way to fill that space is to go there to the people and gather. Like what else could someone else possibly do in this situation? Like what other work can I do that isn't already here so that I can fill this space so that I can move forward quicker? Like that's kind of the internal mechanism that was like kind of firing.
I think it's just to feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
ensure that you get your rent paid, ensure that you do these things.
Yeah.
It's funny that the exact opposite starts orchestrating, the exact opposite starts pushing against you, because it's like, hold on, slow your horses, don't do this extra stuff. Like, how hard do we need to make it for you to stop doing these extra things and to recognize that like your soul is so much better? It's funny how life pushes back and we think, oh, like maybe I should try even harder, and then life pushes back even more. But it's trying to subtly show us that like the energy that we're pushing against it with, like it's not necessary, because life's meant to be easy. We're meant to like be ourselves. And often, I would say 60 to 70% of the day, that's like resting and chilling and doing whatever we want. And there are those pockets where like that inspiration drops in. We're like, oh, it's time to work. And we hit it really hard with everything we got. And then it's done. And then we back up. And it's like, all right.
Big nods.
I'm so glad to see so many nodding heads on that. I love these moments of resonance. Everyone's on here. That's actually is it? Like, that's actually most of our rhythms. It's like kind of 80-20 rule, where like 20% of the input creates 80% of the results, and that's just to put numbers to it. But it's just like this, like, And it really does happen every day. Like there is a consistent opening.
Oh yeah.
Like then there's multiple openings some days and then like not, you know, but
they expand too. I mean, there have been days where I've worked like 12 hours completely in alignment. It's very far and few between. Like I don't do that very often. But there are times where it's like, oh, it's build day. And then I go in to build a bunch of stuff because it's just there.
Yeah.
So it's cool. But when I really only do that, my rhythms are so in sync. And every other time I'm exhausted. Even if it's just a little bit, I can feel the exhaustion, the stress seeping in. Like I get more frantic. I like ask Miriam for more massages. Like it's so
like, have you
funny.
eaten today?
Yeah, and I'm like, no, because I'm just stressed out. I'm like, I got to do a trillion things first. It's so funny. It's just this like frantic, looking for safety, looking to like fill these gaps, but it's not actually true. It's not real. It's not us. Yeah, at 4 today, I felt that I was done and need to go home and cook supper and be at this masterclass, just saying this to myself. Oh, I love that, Shirley.
Look at you, Shirley.
Yeah, just chilling and eating.
It's perfect.
It's funny because it wasn't ready when it started. And what are we, an hour in now? And my tummy, I'm hungry and I can smell it. I made hamburger soup. I could just smell it. And I had literally 15, 20 minutes time to throw everything together, throw it in and turn the pot on and get in here. I was a little late.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I love that you're eating. I love that. I can feel it in so many containers. You're like, gotta be professional. Don't do anything else.
Saying yes to my soul.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't even have to put yourself off.
I wish I could share it with you all.
All right, big energy dropping in.
I know.
Miriam's yawning, wants to lay down.
I'm gonna. How'd you know?
You're gonna lay down.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Hell yeah, I am. One time I fell asleep on our mastermind call. Not even kidding. I was like, whoa.
I was channeling, right?
Yeah, you were channeling. Yeah. I was like,
it was during someone's question.
It was no.
And then we turned to Miriam and said, "Hey, Miriam, what do you think?" And she was snoring. All right. Oh, no. Actually, yeah, you don't want your feet over me.
No, my legs will fall off. Be buzzing.
All right. Settle in, settle in.
So much energy.
I'm gonna push this a little bit out. Give myself a little more room.
Okay.
All right.
Tara always looks like a queen in her chair. Just so relaxed. And
Tara's just full soul embodiment all the time on these calls. It's wonderful. All right. Hello. We're being a little bit gentle with the energetic today. You're all pretty full. Questions have resolved. The cognitive maps have been filled. But what we would love to be able to bring in, first and foremost, is an energy of you recognizing once again that you were doing absolutely nothing wrong. That all of the things that you have the desire to do currently that you aren't already doing, you don't need to do in this moment. Just deep blanket permission for you to be exactly who you are right now. And to know very fundamentally that you are always taken care of as a baseline, that you'll always have what you need as a baseline. Look back at all of the moments that you've been stressed out about your business, about your finances, and look how they've literally always worked out because you're here today. That wasn't chance. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't something that you had to figure out in order to happen. No matter how hard your brain worked, no matter how hard your emotional system fired, you were taken care of. Even in the moments that you lost complete faith, that you doubted the most, you were fundamentally taken care of. That is because this planet wants you here. When we talk about the second paradigm, more than anything, this is the base and the foundation. For David and Miriam, this was their base and foundation. In the mastermind that they run, this was the foundation. For a few months, this was the foundation. Every week, they would come in and it would say, all right, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. Let's unwind, let's rest, let this be easy. And all of the objections came up for why it couldn't be easy, why they needed to work, why they needed to work even harder, plug even further in, kick it into gear and get running. But as that unwound, and as you unwind, you begin to hit this foundation of complete ease, and it becomes your baseline to know that even if you simply do nothing, you are taken care of. This is cognitively a total mystery, but it has always been true and will always be true. Because in those moments where things come right up to the wire, where you aren't sure how things are going to land or work, things always do. And often it's with very, very little effort. We're not saying this has to be the way that things will be. We're not saying this is the second paradigm, settle into ease and let things roll in at such a slow pace to barely take care of you. Absolutely not. But that's the foundation. That is ground zero. That is where you walk into the doors. As soon as you walk into the doors of this second paradigm, you are fundamentally taken care of and you will always have what you need. Breathe deeply into that safety and know that it is yours. Now, something fascinating happens. When you walk into that second paradigm building, ground floor, and you settle back into ease, you become yourself, because all of your security mechanisms fire and tell you need to do a bunch of different things or you will fundamentally die. But you're in a building, you're in a paradigm where you know that's impossible. There's bulletproof glass all around you, all the food you need, all the water you need, everyone around you is extremely nice. There's security. You're taken care of. You begin to recognize that that security mechanism is going to fire no matter what. That you're in a building where everything is safe and yet still it is firing and saying you are not safe and you don't have enough money and you won't be able to get by and you need to do 100 different things for you to be just living. These are the requirements for your being on this planet, and they're simply not true. And as you recognize that these internal systems simply aren't true, then you settle back even further and you become yourself. Because there's an internal recognition that begins to happen where this gear kicks in that says, if I'm wrong as a body about this safety and security thing, because time and time again I've been taken care of. You're right, soul. You've shown me the evidence, and we've even played out things where I did nothing at all, and yet still I was taken care of. When your body begins to see this, it begins to relinquish control, and your soul begins to fill that space. And as your soul fills that space, your joy, your bliss, your peace, and most importantly, the very specific archetypal value essence that you came here with begins to run the show. And when that's running the show, it is at the forefront of your personality. It is at the forefront of your face, of your body, of your energetics, and everyone around you feels it too. This is what we call running a soul heavy blend. More of your soul is running than your body. This is when you get in the elevator and start moving up. Because when you are your soul essence, other people around you begin to feel you and they recognize you as the key that the planet has been looking for. Because if we zoom all the way out and we go back before you're even born, your energetic essence didn't come here just because it was sitting in a divine auditorium looking down at earth and said, that would be rather fun to head down to earth and have a excruciating life in an animal that thinks it's totally unsafe. Your body absolutely did not do that. What your body or what your soul did was sit in that soul space and feel an opening in a divine appointment. Your soul said yes to a synchronicity. Your soul said yes to a mission. And that mission only emerged, that mission only showed itself to you as that soul because it was a perfect fit. Because Earth, before you were born, shortly before you were born, and leading up to that moment, had a very specific intention for what the future wanted to be. You can feel even now that Earth has an intention for what 2050 will look like. It's not destruction. It is some sort of global economy that takes care of everyone. There are various threads of intentions that are pure, that are genuinely what your souls are asking for and praying for and saying, God, everything, please help us to be able to become this so that we may move this earth forward. And that intention and prayer is the very same mechanism that your parents' generation had. And that mechanism created a synchronicity with your soul to say yes to. Your soul said yes to coming because you were what Earth craved. You were what Earth was praying for, quite literally. And when you recognize that, then you begin to recognize that, of course, your soul mission and purpose is to fully embody that archetypal, personal archetypal value set and essence, energy. Because when you allow that piece of you to run the show, you allow yourself to roll forward the thing that the earth is asking for. And at the same time, it is the most terrifying thing to roll forward, because as you roll that forward, your body relinquishes control. And when your body relinquishes control, it says, I'm going to die. I'm uncertain. I'm absolutely uncertain about how this is going to happen because I'm not in control, and we're not running off this plan that I learned will be absolutely okay. And that is the energy that sits in the background worrying. But then you make it to the first floor and you begin to see that your soul has had you all along. And that the more that you sit back and allow your soul to run the show, allow you to say yes to the things that are truly here, that feel like an energetic match, and allow yourself to say yes to the things that are being orchestrated by a higher unit of consciousness, specifically your oversoul. We'll dive into more of those mechanics at a later time. The better your life gets and the better your life feels. And you literally begin to notice desires that you once had falling off, no longer being your desires, and desires that you didn't even know you had being fulfilled. You notice life feeling better than you could have even imagined from that ground floor. And that's when your body recognizes for really the first time that maybe there's something to this. Maybe. It only has one data point, but maybe. From that point on, this journey will be easier than anything it has been previous. But that journey, first off, into the building and then to that first floor is something that very, very few people do. Because all of the common ideas out there will tell you, one, to not enter that building because that's where lunatics go. That's where small-time business owners go. That's where those woo-woo, ungrounded spiritual people go. The big boys are playing down at the bank down the street. But once you're in the second paradigm headquarters, you begin to recognize that the individuals playing down at the bank down the street are playing with pieces of paper that have no fundamental meaning. They're playing with ideas of how to get more of those pieces of paper into their hands so that they can have more of a thing that has no fundamental meaning. You begin to see the world for what it truly is because you see how easy it can be to land your soul into your body and bring what this earth was actually praying for. Not just something you learned from target market research that you could maximize the amount of dollars that come into your bank account. Fundamentally, the essence, which is the purpose and reason for your being here. Many people are searching for their purpose. Many people are searching for who am I, and what am I here to do? But fundamentally, this is it for literally everyone. You are here to become yourself. And the funny thing about becoming yourself is that you don't know who you are until you are there. You don't know who you are until you are fully embodied, because it takes a while for your body to map who you really are, because it can only map through experience. So first it must relinquish control, then your soul must drop in, begin running the show. And once you get to that first floor, your body goes, oh, that's who I am. That's so much bigger than anything I was imagining. That's so much more confronting than anything I was imagining. That's so much more profound and impactful than anything I was imagining. I'm glad I made that choice. That's always the internal reflection after reaching that first floor. Wow, I'm glad that happened. I'm extremely proud of myself for making that decision to relinquish control to my soul and allow my soul to be promoted to CEO of my very existence. And the truth is, once you're on that first floor, everything is extremely easy because you're in the elevator, you choose a floor, your floor, you choose your trajectory, you hit it, and literally the only thing between you and getting there is time. That's it. Because when you fully embody your essence into the world, everything begins orchestrating around you. You continue to say yes to that, even when your body wants to take you in directions that feel more safe or that other individuals have done before. You continue to only say yes to your soul's truest mission, purpose, and essence. And the more you do that, the higher you go. And if you do that consistently and constantly, then it's literally a matter of time before you get there. Because as David mentioned at the beginning of this call, it's not about working your way there. It's not about pressing every single floor all the way up. It's rather excruciating. It's much more about setting your trajectory as far out as you can see. I know that I'm meant to go to floor 13th right now. I can feel it. I can see it. I say yes to that. And then you move. During that process, it takes patience, a bit of humility, knowing that you're not quite where you know you're going to be, and that everyone else around you sees you here and not where you know you're actually going. There are some challenging internal mechanisms that come with that, but ultimately you know you're going there. Ultimately you know who you are, and you know you are worthy of getting there because your very getting there is literally exactly what this entire collective as a consensus asked for on a deep soul level. You don't need to worry about whether or not you'll be accepted because the entire planet asked for you. The only time you need to worry about whether or not your business will be accepted is if you are trying to do something that the earth didn't ask for. If someone orders a Chinese takeout dinner and they ask for beef and broccoli, you know if you bring them beef and broccoli, they'll be happy. But what you don't know is if you bring them something else, which meal will they be okay with and still pay you money for? That is first paradigm business. When someone orders my beef and broccoli, that is my purest and truest essence. What else can I bring them? How can I avoid being beef and broccoli so that I may bring them something else? And what other thing can I bring them for them to still be happy? You know, the only way to know is to survey your target audience so that you can know what they're asking for. That's how business works currently in this world. And we don't see something terribly wrong with it, because often those gaps are from people who aren't willing to be the beef and broccoli, and Jimmy down the street ask the audience whether or not they are going to want beef and broccoli, and they say yes, and he delivers it. But he's actually meant to be cashew chicken. David's having a ball with this one internally. And we hope the ridiculousness of this metaphor allows it to land and be memorable, because we want each of you to see what business is. We want each of you to know that business is just an extension of who you naturally are. That's what it is across the board. And the only time you need to build something that isn't who you truly are is if you are unwilling to be yourself in the world. Once you are, everything's easy, because the earth literally prayed for you. So, in review, you're not doing anything wrong. All the paths you've taken up to this point were perfectly valid and got you here. There were no wrong decisions you made. And each of you has a continual choice point that's arising to take you into more of your beef and broccoli, or to take you down your cashew chicken path. And we hope that each of you becomes your beef and broccoli so that you can bring your truest and purest essence into the world. Because the thing that is going to get you and this planet into that vision of the world that you're seeing in 2050 is not just the next generation coming to embody those energetics, although that's a very magnificently large piece of this. It's also you becoming yourself. Because there's still work to do here for this generation. So thank you, each of you, for your openness to second paradigm business. Thank you, each of you, for your openness to soul and to this perspective that we recognize is very fundamentally different, extremely confronting to a multitude of individuals. And we recognize that many individuals will see you and see these messages as extremely small time and impossible. And there will be, on our way to floor 3,000, knowing it's only a matter of time until each of you become leaders of the second paradigm, until each of you step into a massive role that will be undeniable to all the individuals who are looking at you now with confusion. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your awareness. And we'll speak to you at a later time. Farewell for now.
That's right on the nose. 601.
Lovely.
You, beef and chicken.
Mm-hmm. Beef and chicken. Beef and
Oh,
broccoli.
beef and broccoli. Beef and
Don't call me
chicken.
beef and chicken.
You're
Beef and broccoli.
so offended. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. That was awesome.
We had beef and broccoli for dinner tonight.
Obviously.
At Whole Foods.
That is amazing.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Well, thank you all for being here.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. I want you to know I trust you. When I see you, all of you, it is fucking unbelievable. It is so cool watching all of you step into your souls. Thanks for doing it and being open to it. Because it's been getting lonely over here. Exciting to see this
Purely
beautiful soul
selfish.
reflection up here.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Landing. Drink some water. Enjoy your night. Rest. Don't do anything unless your soul confirms.
Surely. I like the thumbs up.
We'll talk to you soon.